Welcome. Today we're unpacking the powerful and, let's be honest, increasingly controversial alliance between India and Israel. Let's get right into it.
So let me start with a question. Why would over 9,000 people all stop what they're doing to track one single flight across the Middle East? It sounds a little weird, right? But on February 25th, that's exactly what happened. A single plane, Air India 1, suddenly became the most watched flight in the entire world on Flight Radar 24. Thousands of people were just glued to their screens watching its every move. So what was the big deal?
Well, it turns out that plane was carrying Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and its journey was anything but direct. It was this carefully choreographed dance over the Arabian Sea, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan, a route that very pointedly avoided both Iran and Pakistan. That flight path alone tells you this wasn't just some routine state visit. No, this was happening under some truly extraordinary circumstances. Its timing, its context, it all made this a global spectacle. So why is this visit happening right now so incredibly significant? To really get that, we need to look at the world it's taking place in. This is the first part of our breakdown, a globally watched visit.
I mean, this visit is unfolding against a backdrop of just intense regional and global turmoil. You've got the devastating war in Gaza still going on, an ICC arrest warrant hanging over Prime Minister Netanyahu, and the ever-present threat of a much wider conflict involving the US and Iran. Every single diplomatic move is absolutely critical. And for Israel, which is facing growing isolation from many emerging economies, a visit from the leader of the world's largest democracy, well, that's a massive statement of support. Now, let's get into the second part of our story, the historic shift. Because the weight of this moment feels even heavier when you realize just how dramatically this relationship has changed. It wasn't always like this. In fact, for a long time, it was the complete opposite. For decades, India was actually one of the most forceful, non-Arab critics of Israel. Way back in 1947, they voted against the UN partition plan. It wasn't until the Cold War ended in 1992 that they even established formal diplomatic ties. But the real turning point, the real game changer, came in 2017. That's when Modi became the first Indian prime minister to ever set foot in Israel. That was a truly path-breaking journey, and it's what set the stage for everything we're seeing today.
And this right here just illustrates the scale of that shift perfectly. On one side, you have Mahatma Gandhi in 1938 saying unequivocally that Palestine belongs to the Arabs. On the other, you have Prime Minister Netanyahu in 2017 talking about a partnership ready to break down the remaining walls. It's a complete transformation, from principled opposition to a very public, very strategic embrace.
So what is this new powerful partnership actually built on? Okay, let's move to our third section, dollars, defense, and drones. It really comes down to a few key pillars that are binding these two nations closer than they've ever been before.
First, and you can't ignore this one, money. The economics here have been a massive driver. Since they established ties back in 1992, trade between them has just exploded, from a pretty modest $200 million to over $6.5 billion by 2024. And with a free trade agreement in the works, you can bet that number is only going to get bigger. But you know, this cooperation goes way beyond just trade. In defense, India has become Israel's top arms customer. And they're not just buying stuff. They're jointly developing critical technologies like drones and missile defense systems. Then you have the tech sector. They're working together on the future. AI, cybersecurity, quantum computing. This is a truly strategic alignment. And this is how Israeli officials are framing this partnership. It's not just a series of deals to them. They see it as a strategic alignment of values and vision, a new axis of nations committed to shared goals of stability and progress in what is, let's face it, a pretty turbulent world. Okay, for our final section, the new geopolitical map. Because this partnership, it doesn't exist in a bubble. It has implications that ripple across the entire globe, and it's reshaping alliances and power dynamics as we speak. For both of these nations, this alliance is a key piece on a very complex geopolitical chessboard. It's about advancing huge projects like the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor. For India, it's about navigating intense pressure from the US about Iran, all while trying to maintain its famous foreign policy of strategic autonomy, which is basically a delicate balancing act of trying to have good relations with all sides. Ultimately, what you're seeing is both countries positioning themselves for a whole new era in the Middle East. And that's really the long-term vision here. Some insiders, like Israel's special envoy, believe these shifting alliances and new economic corridors, they aren't just minor tweaks. They see this visit as a signal of a fundamental, long-term reshaping of the entire region. So where does all of this leave us? Well, this visit solidifies a powerful, pragmatic alliance. It's built on shared economic and security interests, plain and simple. But it also raises some really profound questions. For India, a country that has historically been a leader of the global south and a longtime advocate for the Palestinian cause, is this pivot just a smart, realist turn? Or, as some critics are arguing, does it come at the cost of its moral credibility on the world stage? And that's the debate this high-stakes visit leaves us with. Is it a pragmatic partnership or is it a moral compromise?
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.